Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our 47th virtual reading and a continued series of our CavanKerry Press reading series. Something that we started in 2020 before COVID. It is my pleasure to be welcoming Kwoya Fagin Maples tonight and Becky Olander. We have two books that we're celebrating. Rebecca Hart Olander's book right here, which came out tonight. It's so fresh, it's still hot. Do you see the smoke? And then Long Eye is still cooking in the oven. It's coming out next month, but you're going to be hearing a bit about it today. I'm the marketing and communications director here, and it is my honor to represent the authors and represent the press in the many things that we do here. There's going to be a lot of love tonight, a lot of great conversation, a lot of crying of the heart here. So to begin, as always, we are going to start the reading with a land acknowledgement and an open statement for just there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and are words turn into those emotions that kind of hold us all together, that create community, right? Poetry and words and the arts are very transformative things. So we'll start with that statement, and then afterwards I'll come back and give you the run of show for the evening. So I want to present you our managing director, our managing editor, our director, Gabriel Cleveland, for our land acknowledgement.
Good evening, and thank you, Dimitri, for being just the most amazing host as always. As Dimitri said, I'm Gabriel Cleveland. I am a man with pinkish white skin, long, wavy, dark blonde hair, and a short beard and mustache. I'm wearing rectangular glasses with dark gray plastic frames and a reddish tint, and a heather green shirt with a Shirley Chisholm quote on it, which says, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." I love that quote, and it's not the first time I've worn it to one of our readings, but it's just because it means a lot to me. All right, tonight we want to take a moment to acknowledge that the land we occupy in Bergen County, New Jersey, belongs to the Munsee Lenape people. We honor their history and know that we cannot function in our work as arts activists, nor offer a safe space for all writers without understanding the struggle for Indigenous rights. We have added to the chat a map of native lands for you to identify which land you occupy, as well as a few resource links for you to learn more and offer your support. Tonight, we also join arts organizations across the country in celebrating Black History Month and in honoring the crucial role of Black authors in the development of American literature and culture. We encourage each of you to support a more equitable and inclusive publishing industry by purchasing their work wherever it is published, not just in February, but always. And finally, we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the ongoing assault on humanity taking place within our borders at the hands of our country's inhumane, draconian administration. The abduction, assault, and murder of those who refuse to kneel to their regressive and fascist ideology is a concerted effort to terrorize our country, our people, and our sense of safety. This moment in time echoes throughout recent and distant past, from the genocide in Palestine to World War II era Nazi Germany and the internment of Japanese Americans, to Jim Crow era suppression of Black Americans' freedoms, to slave catchers and the Trail of Tears in colonial American times, and many, many more of the darkest moments since the dawn of civilization. History shows that what we condone at a distance through ambivalence or inaction eventually comes for each of us, regardless of our background. As a press that has always advocated for and supported communities that have been strategically underserved, poorly cared for, and exploited throughout our country's history, we condemn this regime of immorality and hold steadfast our belief in the power of words to uplift communities and connect individuals from all backgrounds and experiences. We will continue the vital work of our publishing and programming in order to foster a safe and welcoming environment for all writers. We will also be putting some links to resources for Minneapolis at the moment in the chat. Thank you, Tamara. And with that, I will hand it back to our marketing and communications director, the one and only Dimitri Reyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe, for that very needed message. Poetry is power, poetry is witness, poetry is community, and through telling our stories and sharing our stories, we're not only sharing compassion, we're sharing resistance and unification in one another. So I just want us to carry that into the night. And I appreciate seeing all the different fire emojis and love during that. It is really what makes CavanKerry and many parts of the poetry community a safe space to be. And we want to make sure that we're able to keep that here too. So the run of show tonight, uh, we're going to want to hear all the love you have for these amazing authors. If you hear a beautiful line, if you're moved to mention something, please activate that in the chat. Everyone that reads here gets the chat after the reading, so they can see all your lovely comments. So make sure you do that. We are going to have Kwoya first, and then after Kwoya reads, we will go right into Rebecca Hart Olander for her launch. And then afterwards, we're going to share in a conversation, as with all of our other community readings, our virtual readings here. So if you have any questions tonight, please sound off in the comments, and we'll be sure to bring that later. So without further ado, I'm actually going to start with Kwoya Fagin Maples' bio, and then you'll start hearing from her book that is so hot and new it's smoking. Kwoya Fagin Maples is a poet, woodworker, and teacher of creative writing. A Charleston, South Carolina native, her creative practice spans both literary and visual arts. She is the author of Long Eye, forthcoming from Hub City Press in 2026, Mend, University Press of Kentucky in 2018, and co-editor of Eyewitness, an anthology of documentary poetry forthcoming from Wesleyan University Press. Maples' debut collection, Mend, received a 2019 Hurston Wright Legacy Finalist Award for Poetry. Maples is a graduate Cave Canem Fellow. Without further ado, here is Kwoya Fagin Maples.
Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I'm so excited to be celebrating this amazing, incredible book. And I hope that you go in the chat, click on the link, get yours if you haven't already. Rebecca, I'm so happy to be here with you. I thought I would start off with, I know I'm here to read from my new book, but I thought I would read a book from my first book, Mend. And it's called Blueberry Poem. And as I was thinking about tonight and coming together with you all, I started thinking about like our hearts as poets and how this moment is so trying for us in a very particular way. And so while this poem was dedicated, when I originally wrote it to Terrence Crutcher, it also talks about like our hearts and just the difficulty of the way that we carry things as writers, and what it requires of us. Blueberry Poem for Terrence Crutcher. Write a poem about blueberries, they said. How cold and sweet and stolen. Write that poem instead of the poem I carry in my chest as I move down the sidewalk, the poem breathing and growing with every step, stretching toward. Write a poem about blueberries instead of the one about the body, which is tender, crushed in the road and leaking blue. How easily the crushed pulp disperses with the rain. Write a poem about blueberries, how they grow low to the ground or reach up over fences for relief. Write this poem instead of the mother's grief over the membrane torn in her son's mouth, his last word, oh, the shape of a blueberry. And I realized I forgot to introduce myself verbally. And so I am a Black woman with long knotless braids parted in the middle and I'm wearing a black sweatshirt with my press's name on it, Hub City. Shout out to Hub City. So yeah, so that is how I appear. I wrote a book where there is a 15-part series in the voice of a mermaid. And I think that this happened, and I'm really figuring it out. As you're writing a book, you don't always know what you're doing or why you're doing what you're doing, but it's starting to come together, and I'm starting to see. But I think that this book is mainly about identity and also a rejection in a way of society and its expectations, especially as a mother. And so yeah, I will read the poem. This is the first poem in the series in the voice of the mermaid. And this is the prelude. Every body of water ripples in wind. The sunball, tossed like salt onto waves, sinks in beams that sound beneath, clear to the living beds of varied corals, whose chalices and tentacles drift in tide. Every morning, the reef hosts its chorus in arrangements of clicks, burbles, and whistles, parrotfish crunching coral to excrete sand, damselfish claiming thickets, while dolphins choreographed alluring displays. Every underwater being exists in relation. Eels and trout pair to hunt, the anemone glamours to aid clownfish tucked in its flutter. And after its meal of sunlight, the reef feeds its own glaze of algae, every animal being in concert. And why was I given this Atlantic body? I bend the current, refusing name or tether, wanting to be and move how I choose. So I have 3 children and 3 wonderful girls named Vivian, Eden, and Maya. I wrote this poem. There are also like epithalamium poems in the book about being married. And so this poem is called The Proposal. And I thought I'd read it because it's February, Black History Month. And of course, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up, whether or not you celebrate. Here we go. The Proposal. Seconds balanced in my palms, pinpricks, soft ticks. All at once, your heart arrived, wearing a leather bomber to the minute you'd ask me to marry you. One jean knee on the sidewalk of Charleston's Battery, the same seawall where I'd knotted cut lines to a reed dangling, imagined fish. I've read that most of our conscious loving occurs alone in the time we're apart from our objects, in linty pockets of speculation. Too often, what we imagine never arrives, but today, we are us, Black love, holding hands on Rainbow Row. Pastel houses look on, tourists watch from horse-drawn carriages, while the Ashley meets the Cooper River. But how could I presume to know the story underneath your coat? I could only see myself on the opposite bank of the harbor. It was low tide and the day was clear. A lot of these poems were written on the beach. And so since that was part of my process, the experience of being on the beach as a person of color, especially on southern beaches, most of these were written like in between between on the Atlantic, just up and down the southeastern coast of the Atlantic. The beach is host to small things. Futile, like asking sun to show restraint while my daughters shoulders the napes of their necks. A nearby woman photographing her own precious things, their small white feet kicking up the surf. The man I love and my sunlit girls skitter on the shore. So much water to be gathered, collected in buckets. Before the worst hurricane Charleston has ever seen, my own father showed us a kindness, bringing us supplies, then promptly leaving before the storm. If his children were going to die, it wouldn't be without flashlights. As beautiful as the ocean day is in the morning, I remind Marcus that morning sun is the worst. The anxiety the sky reads today is racially motivated incident. This sense of foreboding I sit with in predominantly white spaces. How this strained heart pushes past my sternum to wrap the bright bodies of loved ones, pull them in. The stupidest people in the world are police, my granddaddy said. In the 70s, my uncle went a few years impersonating an officer, pulling folks over to write tickets and such. The man who fathered me always told me the world was mine. Did a crab snap you? Vivian asked. Eden jumps over the waves how I did when I was a girl. I will not tell my daughters to move out of the way of the walkers on the beach this morning. I will not hurry to adjust their positions for anyone. I was born with a job to record. Who does the sea belong to? The man with the house on the beach? Where is the plane and why didn't it deliver the message? Is the ocean cold? I asked Marcus. He says it is. Having that moment where I'm trying to make a last minute decision. All right. Okay, I'll go with the funny poem. I'll go with the lighthearted poem. I wrote this poem because I had written a different version of the poem that was more serious, a very serious version of the poem. And I decided I wanted to play around with it. And so I came back and revised the poem and just added all of these like very random thoughts in to the poem. And I was very happy with it. And it's not a great poem. It's not well structured. It's not fabulous, but I really like it. So I'm going to read it anyway. So the poem is called How the Atlantic Became an Influencer. And in it, I'm just imagining that the Atlantic Ocean has like an Instagram and a bunch of followers. How the Atlantic became an influencer. Every body of water is stirred by wind. All waves began with the wave, first wave that circled the earth, giving wave. And this is true, that there is no end of ocean, that wavelets rotate it, meet us scrolling at the shore. On wavelets, the sunball is crystallized sustenance. I regret this phrase. Let's say tossed like salt on waves, its rays sounding the depths, clear to the sea kelp and corals to feed them. Every morning, the reef hosts a chorus of creatures, flash formation of clicks, burbles, and whistles. We don't often think of sounds beneath the sea, except for knocking billionaires we cry for, though amused at the memes too. Still, parrotfish crunch coral to make sand. For tiny thickets, damselfish come to fisticuffs, manifest destiny on the sea floor. Even the dolphins choreograph lavish displays of self-care, performative dance in the shallows. Every underwater being exists in relation. Oh, if we could exist in relation. Oh, word lover, if there was a place for heartfelt exclamation. Every flora and fauna influencer generating content has 100K more followers per follows. On its reels, the anemone flutters its nude BBL tentacles, glamorous subterfuge for the clownfish tucked inside. And this is true. As part of its nighttime skincare routine, the reef feeds its glaze of hair algae. I am just a mammal who can't tread or dive, with low impressions at Kwoya Fagin. There's still no brand for what I am or could be. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwoya. That was so awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait for you to come back for the Q&A soon. There was so much love in this chat. And by the way, this is Dimitri Reyes again for my visual description. I have black wavy hair cut right under my ears with a wooden carved earring on one side and a stainless steel earring on the other side. I have brown glasses that contrast with my brown skin. I also have a bushy beard, kind of I'm in my Che Guevara era. And then I have a blue thermal on because that's right, I was on the bike about a half hour before I came on here. So again, in the comments, I'm seeing so many great comments. Also have some questions later. I think we're going to have some really great questions for Kwoya and Becky. I'm sure of it. So we're going to put the link in the chat for Long Eye again. You can get it first so you don't get it last if you pre-order now. So definitely do that. And there's this wonderful Black Mermaid sequence in there too that I particularly enjoyed. So you'll also be able to enjoy that too. And now we're switching it over a little bit. We're still keeping in the water theme. Now we're going to Singing from the Deep End by Rebecca Hart Olander. This book, like I said, is super, super fresh. It just came out of its octopus egg like 20 minutes ago. Super, super excited to get going here. Let me read Rebecca Hart Olander's bio, and then we'll celebrate her very shortly. So Rebecca Hart Olander's poetry and collaborative writing and collage have appeared in print, online, and in multiple anthologies. Her previous books include Dressing the Wounds, Dancing Girl Press 2019, and Uncertain Acrobats, CavanKerry Press 2021, a finalist for the Eric Hoffer Book Award in Poetry and the Massachusetts Book Award, a winner of the Women's National Book Association Poetry Award. Rebecca has taught poetry widely, including at Amherst and Smith Colleges, Westfield State University, and through graduate and community writing programs. She is the editor and director of Perugia Press. Shout out to that place. If you don't know, now you know. Look that place up. A nonprofit feminist press publishing first and second full-length books of poetry by women. Here is our queen of the evening, along with Kwoya, who's the other queen of our evening. We're presenting to you Singing from the Deep End.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kwoya, that was stunning. Everyone, I love Kwoya's work. I got to spend time with this book, Long Eye, last summer, and I just felt like there were all these confluences and resonances between the ocean running through both of our book, the Atlantic Ocean in particular, and mothering, and a lot of different things too. I am obviously not writing about Black mermaids, and I'll describe myself in a moment because I'm a white woman and I should do my full description. But I wanted to have a night that where my book was sharing space with poems that were like mine and also different from mine. So I love your book. I love your work. I'm so happy to have become friends with you. And Mend is amazing too. So everyone go get Kwoya's library, please. And I just, well, first I'll describe myself. I am a white woman. I am nearing my mid-50s. I have dark brown hair, just about to my chin, and I'm wearing a gray sweater with little sort of circles of beads that are shiny and sparkly, which is meant to be celebratory and sort of oceanic. I don't know if it's coming across, but that was in my mind. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. I also want to just thank the CavanKerry team and everyone in the house, the CavanKerry team for bringing my book into the world. It's out today. It's been an incredible journey, and this is my press home. This is my second book with this press, and I'm really just so honored and grateful to be working with all of you at CavanKerry. Looking in the participants list, I see so many Perugia Press poets. To give a shout out to all of you. Thank you for coming out to support me. Press sisters from CavanKerry, that's totally awesome too. Friends from home, friends from this home, friends from my original home, writing group friends I've made at AWP, and online friends are like real things. They can be really warm connections. So I see you out there. My mom is here, and I'm going to be reading mother poems, and it means so much to me that you're here, Mom. And I think my old friend Kasha from Gloucester Times is on the call. So I see you all. Oh, and Vermont College. There's like a community. These flowers behind me are from my friends from my VCFA time. It means so much to me. And Jonathan's iPad, that's my husband. Thanks for coming, Jonathan's iPad. I love you. I love you all. Thank you for coming. So I'm going to get started because I've got some poems to read. I'm going to start with the first poem in the book. It's a proem. So it comes right before section 1. It's called Cape Ann. And my heart has been so with Cape Ann. This past week, there was a fishing boat that sank and the entire crew was lost, seven people. And that's such a big part of our community. So my heart has been at least half in Gloucester this past week. Cape Ann. Curling Kodachrome photo. My mother before she was a mother. In the heat-stained shift with its long collar and bric-a-brac trim she wore after taking off her wedding dress. It was 1969. She caught and about to be released. My aquatic life began in her and the lack of a baptismal font. Together we claimed an ocean, lapping at the coast of a cape named for a mother and a queen. Settled there before I started school, near granite quarries cold and deep. Avocado pits on our kitchen sill sent roots into the shallows of old jelly jars. Yarn spun, my popsicle stick God's eye gazed over the 80s. Tidal, time and again I return. My mother's grown, and so have I. Does the Atlantic recognize us in its mirror? This next one's called Book of Changes, which is another, that's the word for the I Ching. The I Ching is called the Book of Changes, and you'll hear that in the poem. My mother did yoga on our apartment roof, climbed through her bedroom window, performed sun salutations on the asphalt shingles, a makeshift deck. In Navasana, she became part of the morning, merging with our riotous forsythia, her boat pose lifting toward the blue bell towers of Our Lady of Good Voyage church, where the Madonna cradled her ship. Sheaf of drawings showing stances strewn inside her room and her battered yellow copy of the I Ching, folded paper pouch glued inside to hold the coins from China. She called it throwing the I Ching, and I pictured her heaving it against the wall, spine cracked and pages splayed like her body stretched into downward-facing dog. That was her guitar period, halting voice singing about her true love's hair, how it was yellow when they woke together in the morning. So I thought love made men changeable, brunette by evening and blonde by day, altered overnight, from darkness to light. And she sang of Suzanne, the harbor lady, with her Chinese oranges, honey sun, and seaweed heroes. In this song, the morning was full of leaning children, bent toward love. I loved the faraway places her chords conjured, but sometimes it seemed she belonged elsewhere. Like when she said the flower fairy portrait on our wall was a picture of who she used to be. My mother waited tables at magical places. the raven, and something earthy with garden in its name. Cheeks flushed and in her element, she transformed, flew about the room, white apron strings in her wake. White apron jet streams in her wake. Sometimes I'd sit quietly on a bar stool, waiting for her shift to end, working my potholder loom. And the next poem I'm going to read is the next one in the book. It's called Attachment. I lost the Archie comics I'd collected, the Betty and Veronicas, propped in my bike basket rimmed with plastic daisies, burned in the shed fire my little brother started with the neighborhood pyro. And the bike itself, the one I'd longed for, huffy sweet thunder, padded pink banana seat with sparkle sheen, silver streamers bursting from the grips, singed beyond recognition. Our single mother had bought it for me on layaway. She managed to manifest my dream ride a second time to ease the blow of the burn. But the replacement, too, was short-lived, stolen from the yard. We lived in desperate times, but she didn't want us to steep in that, rearranged what she could so we'd have what we wanted. Yet nothing was ever secured. Growing up, she'd felt safer in her friend's unlocked home, assumed threats must have waited beyond her own family's deadbolted doors. She wanted so much to believe it that we kept not battening our hatches. Even when her good camera went missing, her pot stash, my Barbie apparel case from the back seat of our watercolor blue VW Bug, carrying clothes sewn by my grandmother while her fingers could, a treasure trunk. Our mother lived life as she wanted life to be. Did that teach me to be an optimist, a liar, a poet? I learned the alchemy of mothers, turning base metals into gold. Faith in most people's goodness, despite evidence to the contrary. How to hold a lost thing in mind, tumble it over and again like a multifaceted gem. Remember its color, its cut. I miss my girlhood, and I miss my grandmother. But I can picture the pleather handle of that portable wardrobe, trace those tiny stitches on Barbie's blazer, her handmade two-toned jeans. This first section, so the book is in 3 sections. Thank you, everyone. I'm like seeing the hearts. The book is in 3 sections. The first one is about my growing up and coming of age. And there's a lot of early girlhood friendships in this one, and a lot about my mom, as you've heard, and my growing up place of Gloucester. So this is a girlfriend one. Girls, I knew, I was. Snaggletooth girl, strawberry blonde ringlets, cowardly lion girl, gold blouse borrowed from her older sister girl, girl with the in-ground pool, bikini girl, one-piece girl, girl with an oversized tee over her suit, never swam, girl whose arm ended at the elbow, violin girl, pom-pom girl, girl with 10 Cabbage Patch dolls, girl with a pink velour tracksuit, with a pet snake, girl I kissed when we played doctor, birthday party at the Roller Palace girl, piñata and donkey tail girl, allergic to nuts, allergic to hygiene, girl with perfect pitch, Scorpio girl, girl with the heroin mother, girl with the sick father, sick like he touched her, touched me. Girl with no father, daisy chain girl, girl with buttercup shadow under her chin, training wheels girl, training bra girl, boy haircut girl, girl other girls threw rocks at, girl who never had to try to get an A, never really wanted an A, fast girl, Slow girl, girl born a girl, but never really. Adam's apple girl, girl I invited to be my friend. I didn't mean it. Girls who watched me do it from down the hall. Cave girl, fern-hearted girl, bird-lunged girl, girl whose parents stayed together, girl who never wet the bed, girl who deserved all the happiness she got. And then this is a little one toward the end of this chapter called Brackett's Quarry. This is a place we went where, well, you'll hear in the poem. Brackett's Quarry. My mother took me when I was young. Most of us swam naked, nothing between the water and our bodies when we dove off the dock. What if I had it right back then, before adolescence, before shame? What if she's still with me, has been all along, that little fish of self, that captain of canoes? The possibility of plunge remains stowed inside me, water falling into water. Okay, I'm going to move into the second section and read a few from there. The second section is called the Jerica Poems, and it's for a dear friend I had for over 30 years. I first met as my college roommate in our first year of college, and she died in 2020 of breast cancer, just before the pandemic. After her diagnosis, I think of Italy. Watching 1991 fall away under fireworks, my friend Jerica and I shared a bottle of red wine on the stone steps of a youth hostel. We were 20, on a little island off of Venice. Gondolas jostled at their ropes, impatient horses. More powdered sugar had soaked each day into the Pandoro cake we carried in a plastic bag, tearing slabs from its star-shaped form. It will outlast her, that sinking place we perched to watch one infinite year turn into the next. As bees. On the 15th day of a fresh year, I lay my body next to yours before I could never hold you again. Before they came and took you away, who was so much and was no longer there. It surprises every time, the will, how it thrives, then gives over to a readiness to die. Oh, my brave friend, I can't stop thinking of that basement nightclub we found in Prague, the year we circled Europe on a train. I wish we could never stop our dancing or disembark. In your final week, I held you as a midwife does, supporting your labor toward the next realm. Talking to you now is like the language of bees. A humming I do, the humming back you do. And I'm going to move to the last section and read 3 more. This one starts out the last section. So there's a poem at the beginning of each section that is a lessons poem. And this is called Carrying Lessons. And some of you might recognize this orca in the poem. Probably all the poets do, and probably everyone's a poet in the room. Carrying Lessons. Talakwa carries her dead for 17 days, over 1,000 miles balanced on her own head, while the calf deteriorates in the sun, diving down to retrieve her each time she slides off into the water, unable to keep herself nourished, her own sleek body in danger of wasting. This is what we do. Our young held in our skin, leaching calcium from bones, iron from blood as we grow them, as we prepare to say goodbye. I'm swimming through these days the best I can, like anyone who'd rather hold her gone girl than eat the dwindling salmon. Some say she released her, finally ready to move on. but I can feel how her body might have seized when she went down that last time after the remains, and there were too few to gather up amid the rush of bubbles. It won't be just the noise of vessels that interrupts her feeding now, or how few fish are jumping in her home range. Only 20, and so much loss already. Who can say how much it will take, how much time it will take before she is hungry again? This last section is me as mother in many ways. My mom also comes into it, and other poems like that one, just mothering. This one's called Hurricane Necklace. Daughter, I've been thinking about our old apartment on the end of the row with a stamp of yard sloping up toward the tracks. When we were there, the passing cars rocked your crib and my bed frame, jelly jars repurposed as glasses tinkling on their shelf. Now that the high-speed rail has come to town, do silverfish still slide across the bathroom? Are ghosts there? The other two of us, one single parenting through her early 20s, the other toddling with joy, her hair a halo of wheat. By the front steps, broken clamshells lined Mary's half-shell vessel, and a jumble of ancient farm tools rusted into the earth beside the shed. Remember how you made those block cities, and my boyfriend knocked them down for you with a strand of Mardi Gras beads, shiny purple wrecking balls you two called a hurricane necklace, before he was my husband and your day-to-day dad. You loved that easy destruction, the clatter of breakage that could be fixed right then and over and again. And I'll close with an Iceland poem. It's called Dottir, Dottir. And my mother and daughter and I were lucky enough to go to Iceland in 2022. Gosh, so it's almost been 4 years, and we had a magical time that I think none of us can believe really happened. So I'm glad I wrote these poems. Dottir. Place of dynamic tectonic plates where two continents nearly kiss. Glaciers with their tongues hanging out. Gem blue caves and black sand beaches. Ice diamonds. Sea arches. Charcoal lattes. I slept beside my daughter again, drove my mother in the rental while she trained her camera on the passing landscape to show me later it was real. We labyrinthed up the side of the Pufa Mound in fierce wind to where a fish shack waited, drying cod. At the Whales of Iceland Museum, we 3 generations wandered under suspended life-size sculptures, learning about krill, baleen, harpoons, and nursing mothers, about traveling in pods and how big the heart is. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, Becky, I can't believe it. It's here. What is like 8, 9 months? Look at that. Wow. I mean, a lot longer, but just for everyone, peek behind the curtain. Me and Becky talking about the book and the launch and all this stuff, and now it's finally here. And just it's so great to, as Sarah Bracy White mentioned, it's just so great to hear you read from the book, to read from the work. So thank you so much for being so giving. And oh my God, this chat is lighting up. I don't think Zoom could take it, everybody. It's perfect. So Kwoya and Becky, thank you. Now's the time, everyone, where we're going to start our Q&A conversation. The way it works here at CavanKerry Press, this is more kind of like all the poets hanging out by the bar, the cafe, or the dinner afterwards, just kind of talking about our work. But please, while you are a fly or a beautiful butterfly on the wall, jump in, right? Put a question in the comment, and we'll add that into our conversation. So first of all, let me actually hear from both of you. Like, these books take a while to make. So how does it feel that Becky, yours is out today, and Kwoya, how do you feel being like almost about a month out from the day? Like, how's it feel? So Becky, we'll go with you first since it's launch day.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been so much longer than 9 months. Oh my goodness, it's such a journey. Yeah, I sent this baby to CavanKerry. They sent it back to me. I sent it back to them. They sent it back to me. So that whole part is a long time. And then like there's a whole team who works on this, and there's the cover, and there's the copy editor and the book designer and the content editor. I want to give a shout out while I'm thinking of that to Baron Wormser, who's no longer with us, but was such a big part of my life actually in both of these books, and obviously the press. Um, I was telling my husband today, it's a little bit scary when a book comes out, which is weird because it takes so long and it's been, you've been waiting for it and obviously it's happening. I've been planning readings like it's my part-time job, and promo and stuff. Like I've been trying to do my press proud and and be proud of my own work. But it's like, oh my gosh, my book is read. People are gonna read it. So it's like a little scary. I guess maybe partly because my poems are so personal, and a little surreal and unbelievable, even though it's been so long. So that's, yeah. And I'm kind of like bowled over with gratitude today. It was a really, really nice launch day for me. Really, really validating, lovely words about people already reading the book, and celebrating it. So I kind of, I keep trying to remind myself, like, I remember someone told me at our wedding, John and me at our wedding, like, stand back and like look at the whole thing and take it in, because when you're in something really big, you sort of don't, you might later go like, oh my gosh, what was that even like? So I've been trying today to be like, okay, this is your book, it's your second book. And like, this person said this to you, like, hold that thing. And so anyone who's done that for me today and like all along the way, like I'm trying to hold and listen, and I'm very grateful for you. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
Kwoya, what's it feeling like a month out?
Yeah, I'm so stirred and moved by your poems. Like, so I'm still like kind of coming off of that. But yeah, it's such a beautiful book, and congratulations. I'm so happy that I already have it. But yeah, so I think for me, very similar, right, to you. Like it's taken me about 6 years to put this book together in terms of like writing it. I'm a very slow writer, and I also have a very busy life. And I mean, I have 3 kids, I'm a professor. So oftentimes, like, I'm working with my students on developing their own first books with their theses. And so yeah, the process is really long. Um, it's very daunting too, because everything happens, like, writing is such a solitary act, right? So while you're writing and revising, you're just like alone. A lot of people are not seeing what you're doing. So when it's time to finally come out and show what it is that you've been doing all this time, it's like you have to step into a new kind of way of being. And so I'm like, okay, like, I need like Kwoya Fagin Maples 2.0. Like, I need this other version of me to take over at this point and do like the marketing version. Which is harder for me. It's harder for me to be out front, but at the same time, I know that I need to honor the work that I've done. So that's how I feel
Yeah,
about it.
that's amazing. Yeah, the honoring of that work is almost a whole other job in itself, right?
Mhm.
Like you mentioning that you basically have to step into a different body in order to embody that kind of part of being the poet, right?
Mhm.
And what we do here, it's such a cerebral act, as well as solitary, right? So that's kind of talking to what you're saying, Becky. It's like, how do you enjoy something that is happening so much in here? And then now all of a sudden it's happening all here, like people are actually responding to that, right? And yeah, again, just underscoring how the writing in itself is a part-time job, and then the reading and the promo is also like two full-time jobs on top of that, right? And a lot of us in this Zoom and a bunch of folks I know in the audience are all working authors here too. So it's wild. It's absolutely wild. So it's great. I'm loving. I love that I get the opportunity as another writer to also just feel the energies every month of everyone coming out with these launches because it's just a beautiful thing to see, and everything takes so long in the publishing cycle. Like not only writing it, but then submitting it. And then when it gets picked up, how long is it going to take for it to get published? Revisions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so much that goes on behind it. So I guess the next question, the follow-up here is, so how do you balance all of this life and then the writing side of it? We all have different reasons. Some people have spreadsheets. Some people just let Jesus take the wheel, right? Like we just hope things manifest. So how do you all manage just Becky and Kwoya, the person that exists in the life, versus the writer side of things? And maybe Becky, we'll start with you again.
Oh man. I just want to follow up on like what you were just saying for 1 second, like because you were saying it's very cerebral, but both of our poems are really embodied and like in the body too, and not just the mind. Like that's a whole other thing. You're like a woman with your body like out there in the world in your poems.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a little PS on the last one. I mean, anyone who knows me, which is like a lot of the people in the room, know that I'm a really overly busy person and I'm trying to juggle a lot of things all at once, which is like partly, I mean, my kids are grown. My kids are 32 and 26. So I'm not doing like active mothering, but like they're, right here. And yeah, Kwoya, like, I mean, I have so many Perugia poets in the room. It's really moving. I don't know. I sort of I feel like I kind of throw my whole into things that I do, but like there's a lot of things I do. So I don't know if that can be true, but um, the work that I do is a lot of holding other people's work. I think that can sometimes be challenging, but mostly it's really great because I feel like I can, like I'm standing in those shoes too, right? Where I'm having a book come out and I'm having someone else like be really in conversation with the poems and thinking about the cover. And anyway, I just think that those two parts of me go really well together, being an editor and a poet as well. Um, hmm. I don't know. I probably don't sleep enough. Um, yeah, I mean, I try wellness things, so I have things that I do. I don't know. Yeah. I, I don't want to be like championing the I don't get sleep and I do too much thing. Like I realize there's like an issue with that.
Yeah.
Um, but I yeah, I don't know. I care a lot about relationships and community, and I spend a lot of my time being in them. And it's like never a bad time to go for a walk with a friend. It's never like a bad time to, talk to my mom on the phone. Like if we can get each other on the phone, to see my kids. So that's like, I keep that front of mind, but I also I just feel like I have relationships with the people I work with too. I'm really, really lucky with the poets and my writing communities. So I feel like I'm going on now and maybe off on a different train, but
Yeah.
that's a little bit about me and the things I try to hold and care about.
And it's always changing. It's ever changing, right? You're legitimately living your one wild and precious life in real time, right? And sometimes that means that there's only 24 hours in the day and you're getting what you can get done in that time. I'm pretty sure for your next book, we'd have a totally other answer to this question. And I always love asking that because it always changes. So
Yeah,
thanks for that.
next time I'll publish my next book, guys, at CavanKerry, and I'll just be like, yeah, I've got it all worked out.
Yeah. And it all started with the question. That's why these Q&As are important. Uh, thank you, Becky. Kwoya?
Yeah, I think I kind of like survive being I think I survive writing by like cheating on it a lot.
Oh,
And so I just like give myself a lot of permission and a lot of release, like a lot of relief from writing, from the writing world.
mm,
And um, I've been venturing into woodworking, and so I really enjoy that. I just think every writer needs something to cheat on writing with to help sort of balance out um, I don't know, the strenuousness, the labor, the intensity of being a writer, and the way that we interpret the world. Like I just think we all need that. And
yeah,
so yeah, so I think just um, at the same time, I think because I love what I do, like it is very immersive for me. So like I learned how to swim while I was writing the book.
wow,
So that sort of really enters the work, and like I visited like an estuary, like I talk with scientists about the work. So I think kind of like I kind of do this thing where I'm completely immersed in what I'm doing, in my writing and in my work. And then I'm just like out of it.
yeah,
completely.
yeah.
And I think sort of going back and forth between those extremes like helps me. And when I'm outside of it, I'm like, I'm not even a poet. That's not even what I do. I don't even know what they're all doing. um, so I think that keeps it healthier for me.
Yeah. I love, while you're speaking, I love all these various relationship metaphors poets invent with poetry, right? Because, like, for me, a question I get often is like how you can find a poetic voice or like writer's block. And I always say, well, you got to court your poetry, you got to find different ways to fall in love with it. But
Mhm.
then in Koya's class, she's teaching you how to cheat on your poetry. So there's that.
That's how you get ahead. You cheat and then you get ahead. That's how you get ahead.
Oh my God. The marriage of poetry and the poet, right? That's the answer to a long-lasting relationship. But I think there's something there, and it's going back even to the idea of poetry in the body and like the immersive aspect of it, right? Like people say that you could teach someone how to write a poem, but you can't teach them how to feel it. You got to really like get in there and go elbows deep. So I like this idea of, and I think Richard Hugo calls it the obsession engine, and it's kind of like how method actors really get into a role. For poets, we get obsessive over certain things and we study those things. But then what ends up happening, it gets us really drained and tapped out, right? So it's like just if you just left your computer on all the time, eventually the screen is going to burn out, right? So you do have to step away and do those cheating moments in order to get by. So great food for thought. Thank you for you both. Jenna mentioned in the chat, when experiencing a loss slash grieving period, is writing part of the initial reorientation through grief, or do you have to negotiate time for yourself prior to opening yourself up to the writing process? That's for both, or one, or two, whoever wants to jump in. And let me know if you want me to repeat that.
I can dive in. I think
Okay.
that usually for me, while experiencing a loss, writing is not part of what I'm doing. I can't bring myself to write specifically about what is happening. I can use that energy to write about other things. And
Mm,
so I have often done that. I've taken that same energy, that same anxiety, whatever it is that I'm feeling, and I've sat down to write about something else. And it's actually the instruction that I've always given my students. Well, if you're feeling something very intensely, you don't have to use that exact emotion to write about what's going on specifically. You can
mm,
use it to write about something else. And so yeah, I that's how I handle it. I can't typically write at that time. I don't have enough distance or insight yet.
yeah. Thank you, Koya. Becky?
Um, I mean, I've had different experiences with it.
Mhm.
With my first book, um, it was for my father and written the whole middle part of it while he was dying, and I was doing there's an organization in our town called the Center for New Americans, and they have a fundraiser called 30 Poems in November, and it's for raises money for immigrant and refugee literacy and programs for this amazing nonprofit. And it's all poets writing one poem a day in November. So I used to be involved. I was involved in that for the first 7 years that it ran. And then I took over Perugia, and I decided, okay, I can't do that because November is when our contest closes, and it's really busy. So like, as an example, I knew I couldn't hold all of those things at once and write every day. So I didn't do that. But that November that my dad was dying, when his cancer came back, it was like 7 weeks between hearing that it had come back and when he died. And so 4 of those weeks were November, and I was writing every day, because I also am a good girl and do my homework. So I just like made myself write. And that was interesting. I don't think I would have if I didn't have to every single day like that. And I will say that I'm totally with you that it's not like the poems I wrote then are the ones that are in the book exactly. I mean, they're there, but like years and years of working on them afterward to make them into something that had craft and was like ready to I'm seeing your comment. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, so I worked on them a lot after, but the beginnings of them came then, kind of in that forced homeworky thing. And it just, I don't know, like it helped me record a lot of the detail things in those poems. So there's a lot of detail in those poems that might not have made it to the surface.
Yeah.
Because you're in the middle of trauma and you're not like really remembering that stuff probably, but I had recorded it. So yeah, I think it depends on, it is a great question, Jenna, thank you. And I think it depends on maybe what you're going through and what else is happening in your life. And I guess I think, I don't know, I mean, it can be helpful to write when we often write when we're confused or, have really strong emotions, and it doesn't necessarily result in an amazing poem, but it doesn't have to be that for like a really long time. So sometimes it's just a good place to go with, your pen and your head.
I should like kind of amend my comment to say that I can't say that I'm not doing anything creative when I am experiencing grief, because honestly, I have to do something creative when I experience grief. So I will, but I usually jump into another art form, not writing, but something else that is where I could be equally meticulous.
Yeah, kind of because the thing is, because like whatever emotional signature that you're going through with that trauma, sometimes it just has to be creatively adjacent. So there's something to focus on, right? Something else to direct your energy towards physically while you're processing it, mentally. Yeah, it's really great. And I think the other thing too is I always like to think that even when we're not writing, we're still writing, we're incubating an idea, right? It's just it waits to manifest itself in a myriad of different ways. Sometimes it's in a conversation, or sometimes it's even in a state of mind. Thank you so much for being here, Amy. And then for the folks who don't have the chat, but will be joining us on YouTube at a later date, when Becky mentioned that she was a good girl and she did do her homework for reading, Kwoya mentioned that she is in fact not a good girl. She does not do her homework. That's where the humor came from in that joke a couple minutes ago.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So for the next question, which is kind of like changing gears here, Gabe, our director, and I kind of tag team to form something for this. CavanKerry Press author Sarah Bracy White, earlier, Kwoya, in your reading, mentioned in the chat, we sometimes need a lighthearted poem to comfort us. There is truth and witness behind a funny or amusing poem as much as our serious poems, as we saw through some of the reading here. Can you talk about the ways incorporating humor, or Becky, even your situation, kind of like nostalgia that kind of leads to that joy. Can you talk about the ways incorporating humor into your writing can help deepen and broaden the context you bring to the page, and perhaps even enrich the descriptions for your world?
Sure. Are you asking me or first or?
Kwoya, you can go first. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm always aiming for humor. As a matter of fact, I wanted very badly for this book to I wanted it to be like replete with like humorous poems because my first book was not. But I that it didn't really happen. And also my daughters, one of my youngest daughter is always like, why are all your poems, they all sound sad, why are they all sad? So I really wanted to try to like incorporate humor is really important to me. I think that there's also a way that in the Black community, like humor is just a part of living and sort of thriving when life is not going how you want it to be, even in like really difficult and dark situations. And so I think in my work, there's always some humor. There's always lines of humor. Even in my first book, that was about medical experimentation. It was a very heavy book. There were still moments where I tried to weave humor in, but I need to be surprised myself as a writer. And I also need to have moments where I think something is funny and where I'm enjoying um, poetry. Like I'm enjoying my own poetry. And so I think, yeah, that's always something that I will pay attention to. And hopefully in the future, I can like just have some laugh out loud poems, like at least a couple where it's like every line is just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's starting. The octopus with the BBL tentacles was bananas. So I was like, what an image. Where's the injection? I don't know. But yeah, so there's something there. So thanks, Kwoya. Becky?
Yeah, thanks. I I mean, my books are both pretty heavy. I don't think my book is full of humor. I hope it's full of light though. Like I feel like I love funny poems. I love whenever mine have humor in them. It's more rare. And I used to kind of be much more uptight about that. Like, oh, my poems are like I was like talking to myself like I was your daughter, Koya. Like, what are you doing? All these, no one's gonna want to read them. It's just the poet that I am. So I've made peace with that. I'm really, really happy whenever something funny comes into a poem. And sometimes it's like observational, like something that I see in the world. But yeah, I think more like the title of the book, Singing from the Deep End, like it's got singing, right? It's like I want there to be, amidst all of this, the fathoms of emotional things, there's song and there's joy. So I do think about that. I think it's important to have balance and maybe emotional range and things like that in a book. And I strive for that. But I also think like you can't really, it's like you can't give yourself a nickname. Like you can't be funny unless it's funny. So like you do kind of have to surprise yourself, like you were saying, Koya, and like make yourself, I don't know, like it has to be a surprise. It can't be, you can't plot it out too much or it won't be funny. So yeah, that's I guess that's my ranging answer on that one.
Yeah. I think the thing with humor too is like if you chase it, I think humor really just slips into more of those other emotional gradients again, right? I think the humor is right in that surprise. It kind of pops up almost sometimes embarrassingly in places where it shouldn't. So it's interesting how that goes, and I guess it's one of those things that are just a gift given us by the muses, right? When those things pop up, you just kind of run with it, and there's varying gradients of that. This is great, everyone. Thank you so much. So, listen, we have one question left, but if by now you haven't already ordered these two lovely books, which look really great next to each other, also, and
Me too.
all the seascapiness, you're doing yourself a disservice. please go into the links either on YouTube afterwards or now and check it out. Tamada is also in the chat going to put our links on where to follow us, join our mailing list. We got awesome stuff going on Instagram. Kwoya and Becky, please put your no, yeah, put them down. I'm pretty sure there's some folks that aren't following you on either or, so definitely put that down there too. We are going to end with one last question. And it was a question I was asking last year for quite some time, and then I stopped asking it for whatever reason, but we're going to go back to it tonight. And I love this one, especially with folks that have published several books already, have been doing this for a while. If you could give yourself a piece of advice from when you were first starting out as a writer, one golden nugget piece of advice, what piece would you have given yourself when you first started? I'll give you about maybe 10, 15 seconds to think about that. And then whoever wants to jump in will double dutch it. We could just jump right in.
Double Dutch sounds much more fun than answering this question. Thank you for that image. I would love to play Double Dutch with you, Kwoya.
Yeah. AWP double dutch? Is this what we're doing?
I'm not saying I know how. I'm just saying that would be a dream. I mean, just for a long time, I gave myself a hard time about not being a poet if I wasn't writing, right? If I was doing that like percolating phase or whatever hibernating phase that you called it, Dimitri. And I didn't think about it like cheating on poetry, but I definitely cheat on poetry, like hard cheating on poetry is happening. So yeah, I just have, I don't know, like embracing the, the poet you are, like, and embracing the process that you have, right? Like we're all really different and there's not one way to be a poet or be a writer, or be a human. And like, I like to read different kinds of poetry. I don't have to be every kind of poet. So I'm happy to read people who are funny more often than I am and not have to, it just would be inauthentic, right? So I really value authenticity. And so I've tried to, I don't know, just embrace like who I am as a poet a little bit more. It doesn't mean I don't challenge myself or try new things. It's more like, don't, like what use is it to get upset with yourself if you're not writing as much as you'd like just figure out, why and spaces to do it. So yeah, I guess just my advice would be like, don't tell yourself you're not a poet if you're not a certain way.
That's wonderful, Rebecca. And Gabriel in the chat said, every moment you're breathing, and perhaps especially when you're not, you are being a poet, so long as you're paying attention to the life you're living. If that's cheating on your poetry, well, yeah.
I mean, you need life for the poems, like,
yeah.
And you need balance for like, if you're gonna write about the hard stuff, like you need to be able to like make something with wood like, so that you can go back into the poem and deal with what the poem's telling you.
Got it. Yeah. Kwoya?
Yeah, so I'll just jump on that. I really want my first poetry mentor, Abraham Smith, that he said to me, I used to get on myself really bad about not writing. This is when I was really young, similar to you, Rebecca. And when I had these long periods of not writing, and he said, sometimes the only job of a poet is to notice the different kinds of light on leaves. And that was such a comfort to me, like that immediately just, and I think ever since then, just knowing that I am collecting, right, and not knowing how it's necessarily going to come out or how it's necessarily going to manifest is like, or whether or not it will, like it's enough sometimes that I am collecting, even if I'm not producing. So I definitely agree with you. And so I would say that, I guess, to my younger self, and then also just that no one else can tell you that you're a poet. If you are a person who writes poems and you enjoy writing poetry and you pursue your craft and then you are a poet, and no
Yeah.
one else gets to tell you that, and nobody else gets to take that away from you.
It's fully autonomous, right? If you say you are, that's just the path. That's your path. That's that life you lead. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And again, sometimes, just to repeat it for everyone, sometimes the only job of a poet is to notice the different kinds of light on leaves. With that being said, here was the launch of Singing from the Deep End by Rebecca Hart Olander and the pre-launch for Long Eye by Kwoya Fagin Maples. At this point in time, Dimitri, Tamata, let everyone off mute in your apartments. I want to make sure the people downstairs could hear you. If you're in the middle of the woods, I want all the woodland creatures to hear you on the outside. Give these folks a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Congrats. Thank you.
Oh,
Hey.
all right.
Who has
Oh,
bells? That's amazing.
the reindeer
Sandy.
heard you.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight.